In this video, we're going to be starting the KutaSoftware Infinite Geometry free worksheet, Equations of Circles. Our instructions are to identify the center and the radius of each, and then we're going to sketch the graph. Now there's a simple standard form for equations of a circle, and that is that x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. And that's where h, k, those coordinates, are the center of the circle. So h, k is the center coordinates of the circle, and our radius is simply r. So knowing this formula, x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals the radius squared, let's look at number 1. In number 1, remember x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So our center is at hk, which for this equation, h is 1 and k, and if we have y plus 3, that's the same as y minus a negative 3. So negative 3 is k. So our center is at 1, negative 3. So let's plot the center of our circle. So we'll go over 1 to the right in the x direction and 3 down in the y direction. Next, we'll solve for our radius. And we have that r squared equals 4. So if r squared equals 4, then we'll take the square root of both sides to get that r, since the square root of r squared is r, is equal to the square root of 4, which is 2. So if we have a radius of 2, that means that I can go 2 away from this center point. So if I go 2 up, that will be a point on the edge of the circle. If I go 2 to the right, that would be an edge on the circle. 2 to the left is a point on the edge of the circle, and 2 down is a point on the edge of the circle. And then what I recommend is taking a compass, laying a point at the center, your pencil mark or pencil point on the edge, and then drawing around. However, since I'm on the computer, I'll be able to use my oval tool. So again, our center was at point 1, negative 3, and our radius was 2. Let's move on to number 2. Remembering our formula, x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So our center is hk, and we can see that h is going to be 2, and k is going to be a negative 1, because y minus a negative 1 is the same as y plus 1. And our r squared value is 16. So the center we can write as h comma k, so 2 comma negative 1, and then we'll plot that to negative 1. And our radius, if r squared is 16, we'll take the square root of both sides to get that our radius r is 4. So if the radius equals 4, I'm going to plot a couple different points. I'm going to go 4 up from my center point, 4 to the right of my center point, 4 down from my center point, and 4 to the left of my center point, and then connect those in a circle. So my center was at 2, negative 1, and my radius was 4. Moving on to number 3, x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Our h value is 1. Our k value will be negative 4, because since we're adding a 4, that's the same as subtracting a negative 4, so k is negative 4, and our radius squared is equal to 9. So when we take the square root of both sides, we'll get that our radius is equal to 3. So now that we have h and k, we can state that our center will be at 1, negative 4, hk, and our radius we calculated to be 3. So plotting 1, negative 4, and then a radius is 3, that means if I drew a straight line, straight above, 3 above, straight to the right, 3, straight down, 3, and to the left, 3 would be points all along the edge of my circle, and then I'll connect those edge points. And that's my center, radius, and sketched circle in number 3. And lastly in this video, I'll go over number 4. Now, remembering our formula, x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Our h value is actually going to be 0. Since we have x squared in our formula, x minus h, if h is 0, that's x minus 0, which is x squared. So our h is 0, and our y is a positive 3, since y minus k, y minus 3. And our radius squared, r squared, is equal to 14. So if I take the square root of both sides, I'll get that r is equal to the square root of 14, since we cannot simplify that any further. So our center of our circle is at 0, 3, and the radius of our circle is the square root of 14. So plotting 0, 3, staying on that y-axis and moving up 3 is our center, and now we just have to plot the radius along that, which the square root of 14 is about 3.74, so almost 3 3/4. So 1, 2, 3.74 up in a straight line, since my radius is always a straight line from the center. 1, 2, 3.74, 1, 2, 3.74, and 1, 2, 3.74. Now I'll draw a circle to connect the points along the edge of my circle. Continue on to the next video where I'll complete numbers 5 through 8. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. And while you're at it, click that subscribe button and like this video.